The Taste of Things, presented by HGS Home Chef. Hudson Valley-Berkshire area cooks and food lovers of all levels know HGS Home Chef in Hillsdale, New York. The HGS stands for Hillsdale General Store, the mother company in Hillsdale, located right across the street, which is a source for home goods and gifts. More information, hillsdalegeneralstore.com/home-chef.
This is Matthew White from Hillsdale General Store Home Chef with The Taste of Things. Milk and honey. When you hear about the land of milk and honey, it means a promised land, a metaphor for plenty and all good things. It just so happens that actual milk and honey are a delicious combination. For me, plain yogurt with honey and some raw almonds is an enormously satisfying flavor-texture combination. Texture-wise, you have the creaminess and crunch. Flavor-wise, you have the lovely combination of tart and sweet. It's the ideal quick breakfast, and sometimes I'll even have it at night if I'm craving something sweet, but I'm trying to avoid the guilt of an ice cream binge, which is, of course, what I really want. Growing up, I always heard that warm milk helps one sleep. The idea never really appealed to me, and in fact sounded kind of gross, but I was doing some reading, and a classic nightcap to help sleep is spiced milk sweetened with honey. Now that is something I can get behind. Apparently, it has ancient roots, most likely Middle Eastern. Basically, you heat the milk with a vanilla bean cut open and a cinnamon stick. Once the milk is about to boil, you set aside the covered pot for about 10 minutes, leaving the spices to infuse, almost like making tea, but with spice. Then before drinking, while it's still quite warm, you stir in a bit of honey. Some recipes add other spices such as cloves or cardamom. All these spices should be in their whole form. I've been a bit stressed of late, and I must say that this is a very calming thing, both in the making and in the consuming. The aroma is heavenly, and the spices bring about a kind of calmness. But it's that touch of honey sweetening the milk that brings all the flavors together in the most lovely way. A totally different use of milk and honey was one I learned at the breakfast table as a young child on Sunday mornings when Mom would make biscuits. After the biscuits were golden brown, she would transfer them from a baking sheet into a tea towel-lined basket so they'd stay warm throughout the meal. After grace, it wouldn't be long before the entire table would shake. I mean, really shake. At that moment, would look toward our dad, who was creating the small earthquake-like tremors. What he was doing was whipping his own honey butter. He'd cut a nice square cube from the stick of butter, put it on his plate, and douse it with a considerable amount of honey. Then, with the back of his fork, he'd cut the honey into the butter with tiny but firm and fast repeated movements that would cause the entire breakfast table to vibrate. This enthusiastic act would transform the cold butter and honey from two distinct properties into a glossy, creamy, thick nectar that was nearly opalescent. Only then would Daddy reach for the basket of hot biscuits, cut one in half, and slather it with the creamy concoction. Then he would recount to us how our great-grandfather Sanders, a man with notoriously bad table manners, I must add, would do this any time biscuits were served, which I think, given my great-grandmother's skills in the kitchen, was daily. Personally, I'm kind of a stickler for good table manners, but when it comes to honey butter, they fly out the window. And once you try this, I think you'll agree. All you need are sweet butter and local honey and the dexterity to whip those two ingredients to a sublime smoothness with the back of your fork, holding down your plate as you do to keep it from flying across the room. Many of my favorite recipes have two ingredients, and now that I have explained how to make honey butter, let me provide a serving suggestion. Don't be stingy. Slather it on in drowning waves upon the warm insides of that gorgeous biscuit. There's really not much better in the world, and it just may convince you that you've entered the land of milk and honey. This is Matthew White from Hillsdale General Store Home Chef with The Taste of Things.
The Taste of Things, presented by HGS Home Chef. Hudson Valley-Berkshire area cooks and food lovers of all levels know HGS Home Chef in Hillsdale, New York. The HGS stands for Hillsdale General Store, the mother company in Hillsdale, located right across the street, which is a source for home goods and gifts. More information, hillsdalegeneralstore.com/home-chef.